Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Collegiate Rundown, and we are so happy to have you here today. Great episode in store. We are going to talk about every single conference tournament. Got a few championships today. Very excited to take a look at those. Going to talk a little bit maybe about European soccer, depending on how Manchester City's game is going,
Uh,
and a little bit about conference
You're
realignment.
bandwagoning the
Yeah,
same
that
thing.
should be a good show. Sam, you want to get us started? Talk about some of the college basketball action over the weekend while we take a look at all the conference tournaments.
All right. So this weekend, there's already been quite a few marquee games. Yesterday, mainly. Although today there's a few. Yeah. Yesterday, Kentucky, Tennessee. Somebody here really liked that game.
Did not go very well for Tennessee. They did put up a valiant effort, but it didn't work, and in the end, there just wasn't a way to get it done for the Vols.
This one knocked off number 4 in the country and possibly might have taken away their number 1 seed. So that was a big result for Kentucky and a bad one for Tennessee. Now we have a fraud alert where Kansas, number 14 in the nation, was dismantled by Houston. They lost by 30 points against, it is number 1. And they did have their best player injured. Speaking of their best player, he transferred from Michigan, the best college. But it's inexcusable, though, to have such a bad loss to any team without your best player because, well, you're one of the top teams. You should have more than one good player. So it's...
Yeah, it certainly does. We're going to take a look to continue talking about all the action from today for a while. Dalton Connect, normally he does have a supporting cast, but today he very much didn't, and that did hurt the Vols, falling 85-81. Sam Cantor is going to take a look at a link, and then he's going to talk to us about every single conference tournament, starting with a conference that I actually do care a bit about, the America East Conference.
I don't know anything about this except for that my Albany Great Danes are in this conference. I don't really care that much about them, and I don't know a thing about this conference. But all I do know is that Vermont's had quite a bit of success this year, on an 8-game winning streak right now. I'm picking them to win just because they're looking the best on paper because I don't have the slate school and what's going on here.
Vermont is the best on paper, and my Maine Black Bears doing pretty well on the women's side of the America East. But we'll talk about that one. Championship at 11 a.m. on, I believe, today, actually, possibly. I'm not exactly sure when it's going to come, but we're going to take a look currently at the bracket.
Which one? Oh, my bad.
And yeah, we've got number 1 Vermont surviving a close one with number 8 Albany in the first round. Vermont,
Albany,
very, very much chalk so far. 1, 2, 3, 4 remain for the semifinal. We got Vermont, New Hampshire, Bryant, UMass Lowell. UMass Lowell has looked pretty good over the while. Bryant had that big win over FAU, and I don't think New Hampshire can keep up with either of these teams. I do think Vermont's going to win, but I think it'll be a very fun game between Vermont and Bryant in the championship tomorrow at 11.
Yes, it will. Not that I'm going to watch, but yeah, it will.
Now, and next up, we've got a somewhat more important conference, the American Conference.
This one I actually know something about. Although they've got most of their
and Mr. Cantor is.
Although they've got most of their best gone to the Big 12, this conference is still not a bad one. And got a few very talented teams. And their conference tournament has not started yet. And I'm gonna pick them probably the most talented team, Memphis. They're not having the greatest season, only 11-7 in conference, But they're 22-9, beat my Michigan Wolverines, which is a massive win. We're totally not 8-22. And I have them winning it because I just see them as the best team in the conference, even though the record doesn't show that in conference.
Yeah, I think that could be a very important point. And we're going to take a look at the American Athletic Conference bracket. I'm going to go ahead and go with FAU to win it all. I think that they've shown themselves to be very good when it comes to tournaments. Of course, last year in March Madness, doing very well. And I think that that's going to happen again. And will be exciting to see who wins this one. Championship 3:15 p.m. March 12th on ESPN. First round already has not already happened yet. Next up, we're going to move on to the Atlantic 10 bracket.
This one I actually care a bit about. So here, a few of these teams are actually very talented. We got Richmond, who's had a very good year actually, 15-3 in conference. Loyola Chicago, who's also 15-3 in conference, 23-8 overall. And then you got Dayton, who's actually ranked this year. They occasionally have good years. This is one of them. They're third in the conference, but and they're 15-0 at home. And I honestly think that they could. That of course, it's the obvious pick to pick them, but I think my George Mason, Eagles could definitely actually win it because they haven't looked great this year, especially in conference, but they're like really talented. They got Keyshawn Hall, who's averaging 17 points a game. He's a great free throw shooter too, which might be important down the stretch. He's their top player easily, and he's played incredibly throughout the year, carrying this team, and I think he might carry them to the A10 championship. That's my dark horse pick. I would say, honestly, that Richmond's going to win it, but you got to keep an eye out for George Mason because I definitely think they could make a run, if not win it.
George Mason has certainly made some good wins. Now let's take a look at the 5 seed VCU. They'll play either Fordham or Davidson, both not very good teams, in the second round. I think that they actually have a chance to go. If they play like they did against Dayton back in mid-February, that was an incredible game. Great defense shown by VCU. And if they can just hold on to that for a little bit more, I think that they will very much legitimately have a chance at going very deep into this tournament, possibly winning it. So give me VCU for this one. Next up, we've got the most important one the second most important one to the two of us. And this is the ACC tournament, which is going to be held right here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah!
We cannot wait to attend. And the seeds are set. The buys are set. And we know we're going to be seeing Pitt, UNC, possibly UNC, possibly Pitt, Duke.
Right, let's do it this way.
And Virginia.
We're going to see we're going to see two of the quarterfinals, both of the semifinals, and then the finals.
We're hopefully also going to see the first two quarterfinals, although that's still up in the air.
And College Game Day.
Oh, yes, of course, we will be attempting to attend College Game Day. Hopefully, we'll do a College Game Day special broadcast from there. That should be an interesting one. And when we take a look at this tournament, there are so many teams in the ACC. No, there's so much parity in this league. I mean, UNC, there have been two teams that are clearly better than the rest, but they just haven't won the way you would expect the teams this good to win could be. And those are, of course, Duke and UNC. But number 3, Virginia, hasn't had a great year, really looking to prove something in the tournament. Going to be a very interesting game against either Clemson, Boston College or Miami. Cannot wait to attend that one, see how they're playing. And then I think that Duke is going to Duke and UNC will meet in the championship. They've been the most consistent. Although of the both of those teams, the one that I see more likely to lose is North Carolina. They've been quite inconsistent, especially when it comes down to stuff like this and facing a team like Wake Forest, who have shown they can win big games, or Pitt, who have done the same on in the semifinals. Could be a dagger for UNC. But so give me Duke to win it if they either face Pitt or Wake Forest, or if they face UNC. I think that Duke is going to win this one. Cantor, your pick?
Okay. Honestly, I have a gut feeling that one of the two major teams here is going to go out before the finals. I don't know which one it's going to be. I have some feeling. I don't know what. I don't know why. But I think that it could definitely be UNC here that goes out early. Because they just have not looked that great this year. And they do have some very tricky opponents to play. They're the ones they're expected to win, but I don't know if they will. They looked great last night, but they just have looked really inconsistent. Not the most dominant team throughout the season, and for that reason, I think they're going to go out. I think they're going to beat whoever win the quarterfinals, and then I have them losing to Pitt in the semifinals because they just have not looked that great. And I have Pitt as a dark horse here. I got Duke versus Pitt in the finals. I got Virginia putting up a good fight against Duke. Actually, they have a chip on their shoulder. Nobody has really viewed them as a talented team all throughout this year, but they're the number 3 seed, really coming out of the dark. Nobody really knew that they were this good. But I got Duke winning it all against Pitt in the finals on Saturday night at 8:30.
Will be very interesting to see that one. Of course, we'll be paying extra attention to that one. Now we move to our first one with a championship that's taking place today. We've got the ASUN, and we're not going to pay that much attention to the previous games. I'll tell you just a little bit. Stetson played a thriller with a game-winning buzzer beater to beat Jacksonville.
That one was a great one.
And Austin Peay going into the finals in DeLand, Florida, in their first ever A7 conference tournament. Really going to be an interesting one at 2 p.m. this afternoon. We're trying to beat the clock, make a prediction on this one before it happens. Cantor, who do you got?
So for the ASUN, I don't really know that much about this conference, but from what I've seen so far, I'm going to go with so I think this one's going to be a tight one. Both teams, very talented. But, compared to the rest of their conference, we saw Austin Peay, but from prior experience earlier this year, Austin Peay looked absolutely horrible when we saw them play at George Mason. Stetson, from what I've seen, has looked really good in the few games I've watched of them. So, honestly, Austin Peay's looked better throughout the year. They got that one man, DeMarcus Sharp, who can really do it all. But
and they've got a man who looks like he's 35.
Yeah. Oh, right, the number 6 guy. But I have Stetson winning it by a fine margin. I don't think it will be a blowout. It's gonna be somewhat close, but I don't think they're gonna really feel a challenge. And I have them winning it, definitely.
I think that's a pretty good choice, especially seeing as Austin Peay has definitely been more challenged over the course of the tournament. They did win their semifinal game a little bit closer, but they did rely on Jones's 34 to get there, and winning 77-71 against North Alabama. Stetson winning, of course, 88-87 on a game winner by Swenson. But Austin Peay in the quarterfinals had to go to overtime against a not too good North Florida team that went 16 and 16 on the season, 9 and 7 in conference play, so pretty decent actually. But just really, Austin P not looking too dominant. Stetson looking like the better team on paper. Give me Stetson. And next up, we've got another big conference, and boy, is it big because it's the Big 12.
This one is going to be very interesting here. So the Big 12, I mean, of course, it's a massive conference. Honestly, this might sound weird, but even though after watching yesterday, after seeing everything that happened yesterday, I have Kansas actually making a run because they're just like a talented team. It's that simple. So you have Kansas. They shouldn't have the toughest schedule, seeing as they are a pretty not a low seed, I guess, and they're definitely more talented than BYU, Texas Tech, probably Iowa State, maybe even, and maybe Baylor, or they're probably around the same talent level. And they have a star player in Hunter Dickinson, and I see them making a run, but I do not have them actually winning it because here it's really just that Houston's looked so good throughout the season. I don't have them winning it either because Houston, I just have the feeling. Honestly, I've never really been a believer in them, and this is the type of team that's going to slack off in their conference tournament. It doesn't matter that much to them. They're going to be a 1 seed, possibly the number 1 seed overall, even if they do lose in the conference tournament. So give me Iowa State to win it.
Interesting choice. Now, I actually want to definitely disagree with that one. So Iowa State definitely has struggled away from home this season. Of course, undefeated at home. Not too great against teams that are better than them on paper away from home. So that will be interesting. I think that they're going to come crashing out in the semifinals to Kansas. I agree with you. Kansas is going to make a run. They are going to beat Baylor and go at least to the go to the finals, beat Baylor, beat Iowa State. And but unlike you, I see a lot of might in this Houston team. See a lot of want to win, and I don't think that there's anyone on their side of the bracket that can stop them. Got very weak opponents. Got Texas Tech at 4, BYU at 5, both very weak for 4 and 5 seeds in such a great conference. Although they are pretty decent, but for Houston, very good path to the finals, and I just can't see them losing to Kansas in the finals. So that will be interesting to keep track of. Next up, we got another big conference, the Big East.
This one, another very interesting one, in my opinion, because the Big East, they have some of the top teams here in the country. You got Marquette, who didn't look too great last night. Every team can compete with every team, except for maybe DePaul and Georgetown. Like the middle of the table teams, still like Xavier, put up a great fight. We got UConn, who really did not look that great against Providence. We got Villanova, who almost beat Creighton. It's really the bottom 2 teams are completely lacking. DePaul 0-20 in conference, 3-28 overall. Georgetown, who's 2-18 in conference. Those 2 teams are bottom of the table. There's no chance of anything happening here. I've never really been a big fan of Creighton. This is one where I think it's going to come down to UConn and Marquette. And I really am at it like an impasse here because both of these teams, like UConn, they seem like the team that's going to go out in the conference tournament. I have Marquette, UConn in the finals, and actually give me UConn because Marquette without Tyler Kolek is a completely different team. You saw they got pretty badly beaten by Creighton, and they almost lost to Xavier. This team is so different without Tyler Kolek. So UConn, I have them winning it. I honestly would not be shocked if they went out, but I just don't see Marquette winning without Kolek.
I think that that's an interesting point. Kolek may return. I think that that's highly unlikely. Marquette, of course, with the predictions, would be competing possibly for that final 1 seed with UConn, Purdue, and Houston pretty much locks already. UConn, I went to the Big East tournament last year. They did not look good. I think that they are the type of team. Unlike you picked Houston to be one of the one seed that slacks off in the conference tournament. Well, for me, that team is most certainly for me going to be UConn. I think that they're going to just try to go for a little joyride and get knocked to their senses, possibly even in the semifinals by Seton Hall or St. John's. But I think more likely they will lose in the finals to Creighton, and I think that will be very interesting to keep an eye out for. Next up, we got another big conference, although it's not really that big. It's the Big Sky.
Okay. So the Big Sky. So I mean, I don't see why their name is this because it's not a big conference. But although it's not a big conference, they do have a few very not bad teams. We got Eastern Washington, who didn't look great out of conference, but has looked great at home, 11-1, and has looked great within the conference at 15-3. However, that is not my pick to win it because I see Northern Colorado and Montana both as challengers to them. I really see I find this conference to be like every team has a chance.
100%. I can even see runs coming from 7 and 8 seeds like NAU and Idaho State. They've had some big wins over the course of the season. So interesting point. Continue.
So here we got Weber State, Montana State, Portland State. All those teams can definitely make a run to get by the 3 top seeds. But I have Montana winning it actually because I don't believe that they're like the greatest team ever, but they're just like they just can win the games that are important clearly, as they showed in football at least. Michael, and then
my bar mitzvah. It was unfortunate.
Montana, they did not look too great. They didn't look too great away, though they are 8-7, which is better than most teams in this conference. Actually, in fact, I think that's the best away record of any team in this conference.
Oh yeah,
and they have not been that bad out of conference either. 9-4. They can hold their own against any team really. I just see that they are definitely a team to watch out for, not because they're the greatest team, but they got that one man. We got Ainan Moody, who's the leading scorer. He's looked great, making about half his shots, which is pretty good. He's a great rebound shooter, 92%, and that might be important down the stretch. Yes, this is such a tight conference. I just got Montana winning it because I just see them as a team that can pull it through.
It's going to be very tight, and I definitely agree with you that Montana is going to be the team. I think Montana will make it to the finals, but I could see them falling to Portland State. Portland State really cleaned it up this year after, I believe it was them that lost 100 and something to 5 or something last year.
Yeah, they actually could definitely make a run. They've looked better as of late, really.
Definitely have, but I think that Montana and Eastern Washington, two rivals, will end up facing off in what we're going to go ahead and say we're going to call semifinals. And I think that game is going to go for Montana. Aiden Mui really doing very well. And Eastern Washington and Montana in the finals. That's going to be an interesting one. Very tough to pick. Where is the tournament? I believe that it's at a place somewhat favorable to
Idaho State, who's actually
Idaho State. Well, yeah, Idaho State. Unlikely that they'll be on, but very favorable to Eastern Washington compared, and they're fairly close, for maybe a 2-3 hour drive. So I think that Eastern Washington will ride that to the finals, probably sleeping at their dorm, I would assume, still. And I think that that's going to help Eastern Washington mentally, and I think that that's going to give them the win in this one. And we move to yet another big conference that's really not that big, but it does have its championship going on right now.
The Big
Take
South.
a look. It's not exactly showing me the bracket. Never mind, it is. I found the championship bracket. But yeah.
So this one, I mean, it's pretty evident who's gonna win. I always have been a believer in UNC Asheville. I remember when they make the NCAA tournament quite often. It's normally them and Longwood. It's going to be one of those two teams this year. But Longwood just looks so good early on. It's 36-21 right now. And they look so much better, shooting 57% compared to UNC Asheville's 37. And while they were not very good at all this year in conference, they were 6-10 compared to UNC Asheville 12-4. I just see Longwood. They make it quite often, really, and I definitely have them really keeping this lead and making it yet again.
Longwood gonna punch their ticket, most likely, to the NCAA tournament. Congratulations to them on a great season. I agree with Sam. I do not see a way that Longwood surrenders this lead. UNC Asheville has not been great coming from behind. And now we move to a big conference that might actually be the tiniest bit important, the Big Ten.
The tiniest bit, Michael?
Mm-hmm. In Minneapolis, so it does favor the
Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Minnesota Golden Gophers, who apparently aren't very good.
So, this one, I actually find very interesting as a Michigan fan. So, here, Michigan has looked so bad this year. I really do not see them, making it very far. I actually might have them making it past the first round. I can definitely see them beating Penn State or Ohio State, whoever they end up playing. But they won't make it too far. Purdue, I don't trust them at all. They've just got Zach Edey, and if a team can stop him in the paint, he's shot 20% outside of the paint this year, which is completely pathetic. They've got Braden Jones, I guess, that their star point guard, but really, besides Zach Edey, they don't really have anyone that great. If someone can stop Zach Edey, which I firmly believe Illinois could do, I can see them definitely losing. So I've got Illinois and Northwestern as two teams. I see one of those two teams winning it. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I'm going to go with Illinois because really, they've just got a lot of talent. Overall, you got Terrence Shannon, who's playing great this year, 22 points a game on average. Coleman Hawkins, who's who's played a lot better after last year and 2 years ago. Very aggressive also. I'm just going to point that out. You got Matthew Domask, or Marcus Domask, that's my bad, who's also averaging 16 points a game. They've got a lot of great scorers. Their defense, I'm going to say, it hasn't looked too great this year. But Purdue's offense really also has not been incredible. I have Illinois beating Purdue because, Illinois just got so many great scorers, a great team all around, a great fan base, and that probably won't contribute that much, but Purdue, they were just the kind of team that's going to go down. Honestly, all three of these number one seeds, in my opinion, are the team that's going to choke in the conference tournament. And for that reason, I have Purdue going down to Illinois.
Now, I know this is an interesting one. Many people would not agree with this pick. And I don't think it's then I'll go with this as my dark horse pick. I do agree with you that the most likely outcome is an Illinois victory. I think that Illinois, if Fairleigh Dickinson can do it, Illinois certainly has the defensive ability to stop Zach Edey. And it will be very interesting to see how they handle him if those two meet at some point in the tournament. But as a dark horse, give me the team that's won 3 straight and won four plus States of the West 8. The Ohio State Buckeyes.
Ohio State is so bad. You don't realize that, do you?
They are not great. They're not a great team, but with their coach being fired and with the team just not being great, I think there did seem to be a kind of a boost of motivation, especially in that game against Purdue, and I think that that could carry over into the tournament. So if you want a dark horse team to win that, give me Ohio State, but yeah, give me Illinois as my most likely pick. Next up, we got the Big West, the final big conference, and it's also not that big.
Hey, this one, the tournament starts this Wednesday. My Long Beach State team is in this conference. They beat Michigan, though, which is, of course, a great win. I'm kidding. But LBSU, they play great on the road, 9-7, which is tied for the best record in the conference. They're only 10-10 in conference. But, so, really, this is another conference where quite a few teams could definitely win it. So you got UC Irvine, who's definitely the favorite, 17-3 in conference. You got UC San Diego, who's 15-5 in conference. UC Davis, who's 14-6 in conference. But honestly, none of those teams are who I really pick, because I got UC Irvine versus Long Beach State to decide it, and I got Long Beach State winning. You got Shahonis, who's looked so good this year, especially in the big games such as Michigan, when he scored, I believe, like 35 points or something. Yeah, he scored 35. And
like correction, that game would happen in the semifinals if it does happen.
No,
Long Beach State and UC Irvine.
And then he scored 28 against USC. And he's just shown up in the big games. This one, I find to be no different. I got Long Beach State versus UC Irvine as a game to decide who's going to win it, and I got Long Beach State winning.
I think that's going to be very interesting. Long Beach State has shown they have what it takes to win. UC Davis and UC Irvine all are going to have a chance. But I think that once again, the number 1 seed just showed out for the conference, showed out during conference play. And the conference play is against teams in your conference. So give me UC Irvine playing their good in their conference play against teams that play in their conference championship. So again, give me the UC Irvines.
Michael, they're the Anteaters, I believe, but whatever.
The Anteaters. Next up, we have our first C conference, the CAA. That tournament also being held here in DC. Did not go, of course, because it's kind of bad. And we've got the quarterfinals going on today. Monmouth, Charleston, Towson, UNCW, Stony Brook, Drexel, and Delaware Hofstra.
Okay, this one I again don't know that much about this conference. But Drexel, they beat Villanova earlier this year. Villanova's not great, but Drexel though, I just see them as a team that can definitely win it. Although they're not great on the road, they're 6-10. So that's why I'm not picking them, even though I do have them making the finals to play CFC, College of Charleston, who's looking great against Monmouth so far. And they haven't had the greatest year, or they've taken a small step back. They haven't really had a standout player, but they've got so many solid contributors to their team. And I have CFC winning it as the 1 seed. They're 13-2 at home, but 10-2 away, which is incredible. Then they've also, not only that, but CFC 15-3 in conference, which is massive when you're playing the teams in your conference in the conference tournament. And they had such a great season last year. This isn't the same team as last year's, but it's the same spirit in my opinion, and I have them winning it.
I think that's definitely a possible, likely outcome. Last year they were better. Last year I had them beating San Diego State. Obviously didn't go so well for me. And oy vey, there's going to be a penalty.
Michael.
Never mind. He's injured though. Okay, here we go. Give me, and this team looks very good. UNC Wilmington also looking pretty good, 21-9, and College of Charleston 24-7. As you know, I'm a big believer in mid-major teams in tournaments and in the NCAA tournament. And give me College of Charleston to win this one. And next up, we've got the CUSA.
Okay, this one, I mean, it's a small conference this year. We got, and I haven't really paid much attention to it, but I'm just going to go with, Sam Houston State. I would have gone with Western Kentucky if they weren't riding this 4-game losing streak right now, because they definitely look the best so far before that. But now, Sam Houston State, they've won 7 straight, and they're 13-3 in conference. They haven't lost since February 8th, and they're on a roll right now, and I don't see this roll stopping anytime soon, at least until March Madness.
Definitely. Now, momentum is 100% a big part of conference tournaments, and who wins, who comes into it with confidence, who gets rolling, and who can win it. And I think that once again, with that 7-game win streak, is going to be Sam Houston. Although Middle Tennessee State UTEP riding a 3-game win streak at 5, facing Liberty, who at 7-9 don't look the strongest 4 seed. It is going to be tough for them to beat Sam Houston State on the roll. But if they can, I see UTEP definitely being a threat to Louisiana Tech or Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky obviously would have been the pick had they not choked the last 4 games in a row. Next up, we've got the Horizon League, just over the horizon.
Okay, this one, the tournament's already started. I know this very well. My Northern Kentucky North, still in it, maybe making the tournament for another time in 2 years. They play tomorrow, and honestly, so this conference, it's been a surprise this year, honestly. You got Oakland and Green Bay, two of like the 5 worst teams in basketball last year. They were so bad. They've looked really good this year, but only Oakland remains out of those 2. You got NKU playing Milwaukee. I have my Northern Kentucky Norse winning that one. You got Oakland, Cleveland State. I've got Cleveland State winning this one with Tristan and Aruna carrying the team. And I've got a rematch of the championship of the Horizon League championship last year, NKU versus Cleveland State. And this time I've got Cleveland State winning it. The opposite result. But I just see they've got that big playmaker there in Tristan and Aruna. And they've looked pretty good as of recent. Of course, with them riding a 3-game winning streak. They're not a bad team at all. And although they're 11-9 this year, even though they're in the bottom half of the conference, this is such a competitive conference. But I have them pulling out on top of it in this competitive conference.
100%. Now, I'd like to, as much as we'd both like a team like Oakland or, of course, Northern Kentucky to come through. I think that Milwaukee running a 5-game winning streak going to take this through in the semifinals. I think they're going to win the semifinal against Northern Kentucky. And I also think Cleveland State will. And I think that Milwaukee will beat Cleveland State. And Milwaukee will punch their ticket to the Milwaukee Panthers punch their ticket to March Madness. Very happy for Milwaukee. Next up, we got all these near and dear to so many of us.
Michael, why are you saying that they're so happy when it hasn't even happened yet?
They're so good.
Yeah.
We beg it. We beg it.
Michael.
And let's take a think about the Ivy League tournament. They do a bit of a weird setup. Only 4 of their 8 teams get in. And for the men's tournament, number 1 Princeton, number 2 Yale, number 3 Cornell, and number 4 Brown.
Cornell's the 2 seed, by the way.
No, not according to the thing.
Michael, they have the tiebreaker. No, it doesn't matter. The 2 seed plays the 3 seed, and it won't make a difference. But anyways, so we got my Cornell Big Red. They went 11-3 in the conference. They look great starting it out. But Princeton on a 9-game winning streak, 24-3 overall. We all remember that great run last year especially that big upset over Arizona. There won't be any big upset this time. Even if they did win, it wouldn't be an upset. So there won't be. But I have my Cornell Big Red winning this one. Because, you see, Cornell, they've never had success in basketball. But they have this chip on their shoulder right now. They had this tough loss to Princeton. It was a tight game. Unlucky, just a 2-point loss. They had lost to Brown just barely a few weeks ago. But they've beaten Yale recently. And they've beaten pretty much every team in this conference pretty handily. Princeton, as of recent, they've been on they've been playing incredibly as of recent. But it's just like there's a deadlock between the top 3 teams in the conference. And I have Cornell as probably the best team out of those 3. I do see Cornell as a team that could definitely be upset. I've got, actually, this one might sound weird, but I might have Brown beating Princeton. Princeton, yeah. And then I have Cornell beating Brown, but Brown recently beat Cornell. Brown is my dark horse team in this one, but I got Cornell winning it. Hopefully that's not wishful thinking.
And my opinion is, I was just about to say, I think that the most likely situation in reality is that Princeton, once again, rides their 9-game win streak through to the championship. But I do think and hope that Brown can ride their 6-game win streak through the tournament. Started out 2-6. And when did that win streak start? You know when, I believe? a game that I attended, the Brown versus Penn game. They looked very good. They won at the Palestra, and they haven't looked back since. So Brown definitely a dark horse team, but I think Grayson will win. Next up, we got the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference I know very little about. So
Okay, so here, I mean, the only thing I know about this conference is that incredible buzzer beater, last night by Canisius. I don't know anything about this conference, but but I'm just gonna go with Mount St. Mary's hasn't looked too great, even after that win over Georgetown. That's really all I know about them. Quinnipiac, they're probably my team that I'm expecting to win. But St. Peter's had that massive run just a few years back. And Ryder, they're on a 7-game winning streak. There's so many teams to pick from in this conference, actually. But I'm just going to go with the top seed, honestly. Quinnipiac, they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. They're 15-5 in the conference. They've played really well when not at home. They looked really dominant recently. And so I just have them winning it. They're probably the best team in this conference, or at least in talent. And I think that's gonna carry them to this win.
Definitely an interesting pick. And you mentioned Ryder's 7-game win streak. I was thinking that could possibly play a massive effect, but I think that St. Peter's, same amount of conference wins, and I think a much more talented team in general, I think they will beat them. I think St. Peter's will win. I think they will defeat Quinnipiac, and I think that will be a very important loss. I mean, whatever you want to call it. And I do think that St. Peter will lose, though, to Fairfield in the final. I think that Fairfield just looks very dominant. The top two just cut above the rest in the Metro Atlantic. So give them that. Next up, we've got the MAC.
Okay, this one, so we got Ohio riding a massive win streak. 6 games. They have not lost in a very long time since February 16th, when they barely lost to Toledo. This team, they're not great away from home. None of these teams are really. But they're 13-5 in conference, which is very close to the top. And Toledo, though, it seems like they make it very often. They're the team that I think of for winning the MAC tournament. But I've just got to go with Ohio. I think that they've got this momentum. I think they're going to ride it and take them to the NCAA tournament.
I think that's probably the most likely scenario. Although, you know who else has a bit of momentum? Toledo. And Toledo is the team you think about. Although the Toledo has looked vulnerable at times, I don't think they're going to do very well in front of the lights on ESPN2. And I think give me the Ohio Bobcats. Although they do have a pretty tough trip to the final. Number 6, Western Michigan, looking pretty good at 9-9 in conference play, 12-19 overall. Never mind, they have a pretty easy route to the final. But next up, we've got the MEAC, Middle Eastern Athletic Conference.
Okay, this one full of these HBCUs. Since I live near Howard, I don't know anything about these teams, but Norfolk State seems to make it like every time. So they're undefeated at home. I'm not sure why that matters here, but they're 11-3 in conference. Luckily for them, actually, they really do not have that type of matchup, of course. They got Coppin State, who's 2-26 this year. Absolutely pathetic. So then they'll have to play the winner of South Carolina State versus Morgan State. Neither of these teams are very good. And so for that reason, I just see them cruising right to the finals. And so then I see them playing North Carolina Central. I think this is going to be for the championship and a ticket to the tournament. And I have Norfolk State going to the dance.
I agree with you on every pick except for the final one. I think that NC Central is going to pull it out. Obviously, we're going to take a look at their head-to-head. Norfolk State won 80-74 at home, which was a pretty close game for that team at home. And I believe at home for NC Central, I believe NC Central actually were the victors. Yes, they were. They beat Norfolk State 60-58. So I think that Norfolk State's going to continue to struggle somewhat on the road. It's in Norfolk, Virginia, though, so that kind of matters. But besides that slight fact, I think that NC Central will do pretty well. Next up, we got the Missouri Valley Conference.
This one is already in the finals, actually. A very interesting one today at 2 on CBS. I'd advise you to actually tune into this one. It looks like it's going to be great. And Indiana State, the Sycamores have finally found success for maybe the first time ever or something. They're riding a massive win streak, 6 games. This one's going to be one of the most interesting games, actually. One of the more interesting games this year, in my opinion. 2 teams, both of them actually not bad at all. And really, it's Drake. They are actually also not doing badly recently. They're on a 4-game winning streak also. And Drake, they're also a team. They're the team that normally makes it from this conference. But I've got Indiana State just because, well, they've got such great momentum right now. They finally got success. And it's just like a team with this that has like this kind of chip on their shoulder because they've never had success in the at all in college basketball. It's like this is their first time, and they're not going to let this opportunity slip.
That's the most likely situation, and I think this is going to be a great game. Cannot wait to watch. But give me the Drakens.
The Bulldogs.
No, do not. Give me the Indiana State Sycamores. I've seen them in football. They put up a nice fight against the Vols. And I think that that's going to translate onto the basketball court 5 years later. And I think that's going to be very important. And next up, we have the only tournament that has already ended, so we will not be predicting this one. The Ohio Valley Conference.
We have the
Congratulations, Moorhead State.
Michael, we got the Mountain West and the Northeast Conference.
I just skipped the Mountain West Conference.
And the Northeast.
And the Northeast Conference, but the Northeast Conference don't matter no much. But anyways, we got the Mountain West. Let's taco un ver all the Mountain West.
Okay, so as you all have probably heard, I think all these teams are frauds. It's really like they're not that good. They're playing in a conference that's not known to be good, and a good portion of pretty much all of their big wins, besides I guess Colorado State's one big win over Creighton, all of their wins pretty much are inside their conference, a conference that is not that talented. And the wins from inside their conference are what's making the people think that the teams are talented. But if one team's talented for winning games inside their conference that's not talented, how does that make them it's just like, so I got here Nevada. They're playing really well recently on a 7-game winning streak, 3-1 against teams in AP poll actually. They're so this conference tournament, it's taking place in Nevada also. So they've got some pretty much home court advantage. Like and so they've got like a lot of stuff on their side right now. But although they're not one of the two teams that's ranked, I have them winning this one just because there's so much on their side right now, and a chance to go dancing. Something that does not happen that often for them.
Definitely doesn't. But it doesn't happen often for other teams in this conference. This is going to be one of the most hyper-competitive conference tournaments ever.
What? Ever?
Ever. Listen to me right here. And I think that in the end, the number 3 Boise State Broncos will take on the number 4 UNLV Rebels in the finals. And hear me out. Boise State quietly gotten to the 3 seed. Never been one of the ranked teams out of, I think, 7 that have been ranked at some point. And they quietly gotten to the 3 seed in a conference that I believe is very good.
Okay.
And I don't think that Nevada is ready for such a tough challenge so early. And San Diego State going to make a joke out of it. They were runners-up last year. They feel they should be getting the bid anyway. Utah State, I can feel a little bit of cockiness from them now. Just because they won as a ranked Mountain West team doesn't mean that'll continue. So give me Boise State over UNLV. And the Broncos go dancing.
Now we got the Northeast Conference. Don't skip that one either.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
One mistake, ladies and gentlemen. One mistake.
This one has actually had one of the most famous teams as of recently come out of it. Fairleigh Dickinson for their massive upset over Purdue. I don't see anything like that happening this year. Although Purdue still looks kind of vulnerable, not as much as last year, but still. And then we're already in the finals here. Wagner versus Merrimack. Honestly, I've always thought that Wagner, throughout this year at least, they haven't looked incredible, not at all. They're 15-15, a losing record in conference, but they've looked great in the tournament, beating the 3 seed Sacred Heart, who's 10-6 in conference, and they beat Central Connecticut State handily, who's the 2 seed in the conference tournament, and 13-3. Merrimack, they've had a pretty good year, but I think that their run comes to an end here against Wagner, who I believe is going to upset the Merrimack Warriors and take the W and go dancing. Something that does not happen very often for this program. One that does not have much success.
It certainly does not. Merrimack does look like the better team on paper. Wagner really looking to make their moment stand. And I think I agree that Wagner will win this one. I think that they are going to want it more. Merrimack on only a 2-game win streak. Wagner on a 2-game win streak. So not that much of a momentum difference. And I think that Wagner just going to want it more. So give it to Wagner. Next up, we got the Ohio Valley Conference. And we're actually going to do it this time. And they have already wrapped up their conference championship. Morehead State beating Little Rock and being the first team to get into the conference, the NCAA tournament.
Okay, so first off, congrats to Morehead State. A great tournament comes to an end, and a great season overall. Also, they went 26-8 this year, and although it's not like they play the toughest of tough schedules, They've looked really well recently. They've looked really good recently, actually. I would not be shocked if they might even make an upset in the tournament. There's so much hype surrounding them right now, as it always does for the first team to qualify for the tournament. So there was a lot of competitors in this conference. There's 3 teams tied for first, overall before the tournament. 1 team a game back, Western Illinois there. But Morehead State comes out on top. A big win over Arkansas Little Rock. And they've just looked pretty good recently on a 16 winning streak. I can definitely see them upsetting a team, and just right now, congrats to Morehead State for making the tournament again.
It will be very interesting to see how Morehead State does, obviously, with the most time to prepare for the tournament of anyone. And next up, we've got the Pac of 12, the final Pac-12 tournament ever. And we've got the Arizona Wildcats, very much the best team in the Dell Conference, but some teams that could overthrow them canter.
Okay, this one, honestly, I don't see Arizona winning this. I also don't see Washington State winning this. I've never been a believer in them. This one, I really don't know who this could be. But honestly, I have the Oregon Ducks. I would not be shocked at all if they went and did something. Now that I think about it, well, hold on. Now that I think about it, I still have Arizona winning it. But I have Arizona versus Oregon being the game that's going to decide what happens. Not sure if that's going to be the finals or what, but I definitely believe that Oregon can definitely make a run. Maybe not too far if they have to play Arizona early, which I believe they do actually. But really, Oregon, they have looked really good recently, I guess. Though they have not looked great against top opponents. And you got Arizona, though. They're just not exactly on a roll, I'd say. They just lost to USC. But they're just a great team overall. The only good one in the Pac-12. And, I just totally believe that they're going to win this one.
I think that's interesting. I, on the other hand, do not believe. I think they're going to fall asleep at the wheel. USC will beat them again. And I think that Oregon and Colorado will play in the conference tournament, and give me the Colorado Buffaloes to finally win something, but not in the sport they expected. Men's basketball, 6-game winning streak, 13-7 in conference play. And I think that they're going to go ahead and win. This one should be very interesting to watch who wins the Pac-12. Now let's move on to another league me and Sam know a good bit about. Let's talk about the Patriot League.
So sadly, our American Eagles are already out, so we won't be able to attend March Madness with priority seats like we would have if AU made it. But anyways, it's really disappointing. But really, Bucknell looks really good this year. But it's nobody can compete with Colgate late season. They've always went on a roll late in the season. It looks the exact same this time. The absolute exact same. They lost.
Definitely does.
Yeah, it does. And they've lost one game since January 10th. So they're just on a complete roll right now. And it's kind of unfair at this point for teams that have to play them at this point of the season. Although AU was that team that beat them. But anyways, I'm just as it always happens, I have them winning it. I do have Bucknell putting up a fight in the semifinals today. They beat Penn State this year, had some pretty good wins, including over AU, destroying them this time. And, well, but I have Colgate winning it just because of how good they are late season.
Now, that's likely who's going to win it, but not who I think is going to win it. Bucknell definitely has momentum going into this one. And Now, I'm not a fan of conferences that start their tournaments on March 5th because they host their games. They couldn't just get a neutral site to host their games and they actually have to travel for them. But it does create some interesting situations with teams really fighting for those seeds for that home court advantage in the conference tournament. Colgate really taking advantage of it. I think that Colgate will defeat Bucknell, although it will be a very close game, and BU will play Colgate. And unlike you, I'm going to go with BU winning it. I know that there is a 6 win-loss drop-off between the two of these, but I think that Boston University is going to ride their 6-game win streak. Started, I believe, 2-8 in conference play. Not 2-8, 4-8. And that just really an incredible story for BU getting there. AU, unfortunately, did not have as incredible a story. But we continue on with our next conference tournament, the SEC.
Michael.
It doesn't exist.
Okay, so the SEC this year, I mean, there's a lot of competition at the top. Tennessee looking like the favorite, but I do not have them winning it. Even with Dalton Connect playing so well, Michael. But it's just like
Dalton Connect.
they're just like a team that they have so much competition in this conference at the top. So I just don't see. It's like at some point they're probably gonna lose, in my opinion. And I see it definitely coming. In the semifinals with I had them playing Auburn in the semifinals, and I have them playing Bama in the semifinals and losing to Bama.
Not possible, but
I have them losing in the semifinals to somebody.
You have them losing in the semifinals to Auburn.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, he chooses them losing in the semifinals to Auburn. And who do you choose to win the tournament?
Yeah, so I honestly, Auburn, they've looked pretty good recently, but Kentucky, they're on a 5-game winning streak. A massive win last night over Tennessee. Their offense has looked incredible. Like, I'm saying incredible this year. And it's just like nobody can stop this offense. And I'm just gonna. So I think that the offense is gonna keep working. And I have Kentucky, the blue blood, winning the conference yet again.
Now, an interesting pick. Now, I'm gonna pick that Tennessee will, I agree, lose to Auburn in the semifinals, but I think that Auburn will face Alabama in the Final Bowl on the court in the SEC tournament finals 3v4. And I think this game goes to Auburn. In college basketball, defense is almost always beats offense. We saw that with Baylor versus Houston. We see that in a lot of games, like Tennessee's games in general, when they're not playing Kentucky or Bama. And I think that it's just that Auburn is the stronger team between the two Bama teams, and it will be very fun to watch this SEC tournament and see how it plays out.
Michael.
And next up, but give me Auburn in the end. Next up, we got the SoCon.
Okay, so the SoCon, Southern Conference. I mean, I don't actually know anything about this one, but we're already in the semifinals. Samford and Chattanooga are the two teams that I know anything about. Samford in Georgia. Okay, well, they're lucky enough or unlucky enough. I don't know why I said lucky. They don't get anywhere. They're not home. They're 18-0 at home. They're 27-5 this year. Honestly, they honestly could. Actually, they probably won't make it if they don't win the tournament. But they looked so good this year. But it's them and Chattanooga, in my opinion, in the finals. And who's it gonna be? That one. Give me the Chattanoogas. or whatever they are. Oh, the Mocs. The Chattanooga Mocs.
Here we go, Mocs.
The Chattanooga Mocs are going to go to the tournament. They're going to go dancing.
Now, I would love if a Tennessee team goes bowling or whatever they call it in basketball. And if that's not going to be the Vols, I'd be very happy if it's the Chattanooga Mocs. Now, East Tennessee State, 4-game winning streak, done very well in the tournament so far, beat number 2 UNC Greensboro, the closest team to home, well, the second closest team to home besides Western Carolina. And I think that this is going to be quite an interesting finish to the semifinal and finals. But give me the number 1 Samford Bears. I don't think they're the Bears to win it. But anyways, give me Samford. Next up, we got the Southland Cantor.
All right, so this one, I mean, we're already, so the tournament starts tonight. And McNeese State, they have been absolutely incredible this year. Lights out. 17-1 in conference, 28-3 overall. They beat Michigan, as I very well remember. They've lost 1 game since hold on. They've lost 1 game since November 22nd. They beat some very good teams in VCU in the first game of the year. They beat Michigan. They beat Louisiana. I'm not sure that's a big win, but they've looked incredible in conference. And it's just like you're not going to stop a team that's playing this well. And I just have them definitely winning this. I don't even think it's going to be that close. A&M Commerce, I do have them putting up a fight against them, but it's just like McNeese State. They're looking too good right now, and I have them.
A&M Commerce coming all the way from number 7, bold pick, but I like it with A&M Commerce at the one.
No! I know A&M Corpus Christi, the 2nd seed.
Okay. Cleared. Good to hear that we got that cleared up. And then I think that there are a lot of teams with big win streaks, those being A&M Corpus Christi and McNeese. But McNeese, as you said, just incredibly dominant. 16-0 at home, 11-3 on the road. Pretty close. Lake Charles, Louisiana, pretty close to home compared to Texas A&M CC. Give me McNeese State. And I think that there's really no way to stop them. If you are any other Southland Conference team, we'll keep an eye on that one. And next up, we've got the SWAC, the Southwestern American Conference, I think.
Okay, so so we got the SWAC. So, I mean, this is another one with a bunch of HBCUs. And Grambling State, they've looked great in conference, but they look really bad away from conference 3-10. What matters is in conference. But Alcorn State riding a 9-game winning streak right now. And Michael, not like that. And I just see them riding this momentum. It's like I don't really know that much about these teams, except that Mississippi Valley State is like the worst team in basketball, besides maybe Detroit Mercy. But anyways, Alcorn State's been playing really well recently, and it's just like I see them winning this because they have all this momentum.
I think that's quite an interesting situation that you could be describing. However, give me Alcorn State. I agree with you. Yeah. Okay. With the 9-game win streak, started out in conference play. That would be 4-5, won 9 straight. 13-5, very good record. Grambling the only better, and Grambling always has a good season. With the lost 5, I think they did fall out of the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. No, they did not. Just they lost to Alabama State. Anyways, should be a bueno gamo in the SWAC. And next up, we have another conference that I really do care about, the Summit League.
Hey, Mike.
We got our NDSU.
Okay.
North Dakota State plays tonight against St. Thomas. Really big game. St. Thomas, the number 4 seed, looking very well. NDSU, the 5 seed, looking also pretty decent this season. And really cannot wait to take a look at that game. And really going to be interesting to see who can power their way through with SDSU, South Dakota State already in through. It would be very fun to see a North Dakota State, South Dakota State game in the semifinals. Would not like to face them as a North Dakota State fan, but what can you do? They've already gone through.
Okay, South Dakota State.
And Denver, the 7th seed, getting a big win. Let me make my prediction first. Thank you very much. North Dakota also having a decent thingy going on. So North Dakota, the 3 seed, ESPN has them as a 2 seed, so it's slightly confusing, but no, they are the 3 seed, 1-game win streak. South Dakota State, 6-game win streak. NDSU, and only other team with a win streak is the St. Thomas Tommies with a 2-game win streak. So give me South Dakota State to just win this conference. They've dominated conference play, and I think that they will continue to do so. And congratulations to them on everything they've done this season. And fair play. Financial fair play is very important, man, United. Next up,
Michael,
we're going to go to the Sun Belt. Their first Cantor is going to make his predictions. Thank you.
All right, so here we got South Dakota State. So, South Dakota State, they're playing really well recently. I have them making the finals. But Denver has already booked their tickets to the semifinals. I don't care that they're 6-10 in conference. I don't care that they're through to last in the conference. They've got Tommy Bruner, the number 1 leading scorer in the NCAA this year. He's absolutely outstanding. Number 1 in the country in scoring, number 103 in the country in assists per game. And he's been playing really well. It's just like when you have a star player, you're going to be able to beat a team that's not a great team in a conference. Like, yeah, South Dakota State, they're a great team for the Summit League. But South Dakota State, though, they don't have anyone that can compare with Tommy Bruner. So for that reason, I have Tommy Bruner single-handedly carrying this Denver team to a win in the Summit League, and they will be going dancing.
Denver going bowling or whatever you say in college. Next, we move to the Sun Belt. And Cantor, what you got here?
So very sadly, my Coastal Carolina Strontics Clears already out. We lost in the second half.
ULL.
And we didn't have a great season anyways. So here, the teams remaining. We got Arkansas State, Appalachian State, Texas State, and James Madison. There's 2 obvious picks right now: James Madison and App State. And I mean, although Texas State can definitely has looked really good recently, 16 winning streak. It's like these are the 2 favorites, and I don't see any of these other teams competing with them. We got App State 27-5 overall, 16-2 in conference. They're on an 8-game winning streak. James Madison, starting out that season with a massive win over Michigan State. They've been incredible throughout. At the highest point, they were number 18. Then, although they haven't been great against App State, they're 29-3. A massive win over a big Power 5 team, although they're like the worst Power 5 team in all of Power 5 basketball ever. I'm kidding. They're not bad, at all. Though they're not even close to the preseason hype. But anyways, they're James Madison. They're 29-3. They have a pretty easy path to the finals. Texas State. They play tonight at 8:30. Texas State's fourth worst in the conference, 7-11. I got James Madison winning that game. They're playing App State in the marquee matchup for the Sun Belt. And I have James Madison going dancing. Although they probably would make it even if they didn't win the Sun Belt. Both of these teams.
I do agree that I think that what makes this interesting is that James Madison might feel that, especially if they make the finals, they will be an at-large bid, which I do think is possible, very certainly possible for a team with that good a strength of record, 29-3, with that big of a win in such a short season. And I think that James Madison, App State, again, will face off. And I think that give me App State in that one. I think James Madison will kind of flounder a bit because they don't really feel like they're they need to win. So give me App State. And the Sun Belt will be getting 2 bids for the first time in the history of 2 bids.
What? What does that even mean? Anyway, okay. Now
next up,
we got the WAC. I don't know why they removed this conference from Division I football. It's so fun to say. But anyways, I've been to Grand Canyon University. They've got their star player, which is what you need. They got what's his name? They've got Gabe McLaughlin, who's been great. He's been a beast shooting and rebounding. But the star player, averaging 19 points a game, 48 in the nation actually, is Tyan Grant Foster. I think he is going to lead this Grand Canyon team to the finals. They're going to play the favorite the other favorite Tarleton State. And they played so good in conference, 17-3 in conference. They have a great home court advantage. I'm not sure why that matters here. But anyways, it's just like they played really well recently and throughout the entire season, really. 27-4, of course. So for that reason, I have Grand Canyon finally going to the dance. The Antelopes.
We're going to play against each other for the WAC championship.
Michael?
I think it's just me. Okay. Now, that's a good prediction. Give me Grand Canyon. I think that UP Arlington actually will ride their 6-game win streak and beat Tarleton State in the semifinals, I think. But I think Grand Canyon will end up pulling up and winning the WAC. And we are finally at our final conference, the West Coast Conference. 2 ranked teams canter.
This one's going to be a very interesting one. Okay, so Gonzaga, not doing too great, actually, very recent. I mean, they are doing great recently. St. Mary's, on the other hand, isn't actually. But Gonzaga, 8-game winning streak. They play the San Francisco Dons tomorrow night at 11:30. St. Mary's plays Santa Clara. So here we have an upset. I have Gonzaga. They're going to go make the tournament anyways, but I have them losing to San Francisco. The Dons are going to upset Gonzaga. Not that anyone's actually going to see it since it's at 11:30 here, at least. But the Dons, they've had a very under the radar season, but they're 23-9 this year. They beat Minnesota very easily. DePaul is probably the equivalent of like Chicago. Well, not Chicago State. They're probably the equivalent of a D3 team. They've almost beaten Boise State, almost beaten Grand Canyon. They've had many almost wins. They've beaten Vandy. Oh, that's also not great. They've almost beaten Arizona State.
They beat Vandy? Oh, they beat a team that runs up and down the court doing their math homework.
So they've played well this year. Under the radar, not many people know that they're actually doing well. But I have San Francisco playing St. Mary's in the finals, and St. Mary's, Aiden Mahaney is not gonna win it. Actually, San Francisco is going dancing 25-9 if after this tournament tonight is what I'm gonna guess, and they are going to make the tournament 3 bids for the West Coast Conference.
3 bids, very cocky. I think that would be nice. I think we have to be realistic here. Gonzaga's had just quite a great season. Not a great season, but quite a great finish to the season. 8-game win streak, including that game at Kentucky. And Kentucky was floundering after the game, and they've kind of found their way. But I think that Gonzaga will win this one in the end. They're gonna beat St. Mary's. They're gonna beat San Francisco. Think that would be a nice case scenario. West Coast Conference getting 3 bids, highly unlikely. So good thoughts. Mr. Cantor.
Yeah.
All right. And we will be right back after this break. You are listening to the Collegiate Rundown, where every victory tells a story. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the Collegiate Rundown for today. Thank you for listening to our conference episode, and we are very thankful for this. And thank you for watching. So long, and we'll see you hopefully sometime later this week.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to say that. That's my bad.